Braveheart Workshops, inspiring connection. Restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Live well, laugh often, love much. Join our online connection circles. Be empowered in our virtual live events. Be a guest on our podcast shows. Hire us or be hired for speaking engagements. Enhance hope, health, and healing in your lives. Creating global connections. The Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. The Connection Show, creating hope, health, and healing in 2021. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops and live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Amy Walker. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill.
Where are you located today, Amy?
I am in Northeast Georgia, and it is a beautiful spring day. Everything's in blossom, so if I get a little sneezy, you know why.
Well, great. And I'm in Branson, Missouri today, and it's just beautiful here as well. Amy, I would love the audience to know a little bit about you. So Amy Walker is the author of the I'm Not A Salesperson sales book, a client acquisition specialist, international speaker, executive business coach, podcast host, and a busy wife and mom to 5 boys. Amy's passionate about helping entrepreneurs create a business model that works, makes money, and doesn't take over their lives. She believes that business can be a platform for creating positive change in the world and empowers entrepreneurs to go after their dreams. Amy's been featured in Fast Company, American Express, Huffington Post, U.S. News and World Report, and CEO World Magazine. She has spoken for the Geeked Out Marketing Conference, the Georgia State Chamber of Commerce, 72 Hours of Power Entrepreneur Conference, Playtime is Over, Women Empowerment Conference, the Utah State Public Employees Association, Utah State Bar Association, and many more. Amy and her husband, Stephen, have been married 20 years. They're residents of Jackson County, Georgia. So just the boys alone would exhaust me.
Yeah, I feel that. It's spring break, and so they're all home, and we're just going to hope that they decide to stay downstairs like they're supposed to.
What are the ages from what to what?
My oldest is 18 and my youngest is 8.
So do you have him going off to college, the 18-year-old, or is he still a senior?
No, he's graduated. He graduated last year. He was the robbed generation where they didn't get any of their end of year stuff. But he's working full time, and he's actually getting ready to leave on a 2-year mission trip for a church.
Wow, where's he going?
He doesn't know. He's going to fill out his papers, and they'll assign him wherever he is going to go. His best friend right now is in Benin, Africa. And so he has no idea. It could be Boise, Idaho, could be Bangladesh. You never know.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I'll pray him up for you. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, I'm so grateful to finally get to know you. I've seen you on so many social media platforms, and it's kind of funny how you see people and you hear them on podcasts, but you've never had a chance to meet. So I'm grateful to get to know you personally. On the Connection Show, Amy, I believe that in the Bible, Jesus used parables to share truths. And so I believe parables and story are the most impactful ways to connect with others in the world today. And when we're able to allow ourselves to go deep inside and share story, I believe that we go to a whole different level of connecting with the world at large. And so Connection Show is about connecting to the dots. So if you're willing to go deep and dirty, would you connect the dots of your childhood, Amy, and share with the audience who little Amy was like, what it was like in your home growing up, the good, the bad, and the dirty, and then bring us to what led you into the field and who you are today?
Absolutely. So I feel like, in the Bible where they talk about where your seeds were planted, And some were planted in hard ground and some were planted in good ground. I feel like I was planted in good ground because we were poor enough that I knew that I had to work hard, but we had enough that I knew there was opportunity for me. Um, we were, I was loved enough that I believed that the world was here for me, but I was just awkward enough that I did not always have friends and knew that it was okay for me to be alone as well. So I feel like I had just a good background where I had opportunity, but not so much opportunity that I didn't learn compassion and I didn't learn hard work. Like I learned those lessons. So I'm grateful for my parents. Um, as a child, it's funny because I remember my memory of myself is that I was a very shy child and that I was kind of fearful of people. But it's funny because I was watching, I'm the kind of person when I make friends, I make them for life. So I have a best friend from preschool that we still keep in touch. And I was watching a video at her house when I was probably like 17 years old. We were watching this video of our preschool graduation, and there I was. We were tricycle riding bears, and I was bossing all the other bears around and making sure that they were all on the right tricycle and doing what they were supposed to do. And I almost missed my opportunity to ride. So I got everyone situated, sent them off. And then I ran on my chubby little legs, ran on my bicycle, and then pedaled as fast as I could to keep up. So it's really funny because I was like, oh my gosh, I would not have considered myself a leader from that young age. I always felt more like, I could see what I felt like should be happening, but was a little too afraid to actually go after it.
And where were you in the family of children? How many children were there in your growing up?
So 4 in my nucleus family, and then my parents got divorced when I was 12, and my dad got remarried, and my stepsisters came and plugged in the holes. So we ended up with 6 kids and 5 girls, all within 4 years of each other. So it was like
wow.
Boom, boom, boom,
And where did you fit in?
Second.
You were second. Okay.
Yeah.
So you fit in before under the oldest who told Amy what to do, and then you were determined you were going to tell the rest what to do.
Yeah, when you look at the colors or the personality types, I'm a red who knows how to take the back seat. Like I can be the red, I can be the dominant, but I also know how to be like, okay, cool. You want to lead the party? You go lead the party.
And I'm sure you see that in the family with 5 boys. You can probably see the dynamics with the boys versus the dynamics with the girls.
Yeah, definitely different. Although I will tell you, my youngest is the bossiest of all. He thinks that he should rule the world, not just the family.
So take us then. So here's this little Amy, and she's leading the pack on the little tricycles in preschool, and then share kind of what took place in the family, because I went to a conference years ago in Nashville, Tennessee, on with everything that had to do with recovery, codependency, eating disorders, you name it, and the best of the best were there. And I heard one of the best topics that stayed with me since the 80s, and it was called codependency in the looking good family. It looks good, it seems right, seems like we're all like healthy and balanced, and then boom, the divorce hits. So what took place in this looking good family where everything was great that led to this differential in your family, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, it happened really fast and furious, actually. I remember first week of middle school, it was junior high there, but first week of 7th grade, and it had been a traumatic week. The boy that I had a crush on all summer told everyone, right? Because that's what it felt like, that I was ugly. And my friends were too cool. My elementary school friends were now popular, and I could already tell that I wasn't going to be. So I was like, oh, who am I going to be friends with? It was very traumatic. And my mom said, she said, Amy, I'm going to pick you up from school on Friday, and we're going to go have a talk after school. And I was like, yes, finally, my mom gets it. She sees that I'm drowning in middle school and that it's scary and overwhelming. And she's going to, we're going to go have a talk. And that talk, she picked me up and we drove to a parking lot. I still remember the parking lot. And she told me that she was leaving. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what does that mean? Because my parents didn't fight in front of us. We didn't know that I didn't know there was any problems. And so to go from, I thought everything was great and fine, to my mom was leaving, and she told me that she was, addicted to prescription pain medicine, and that she needed to go kind of get her life cleaned up, and that she couldn't do it while she was taking care of us. And so she was going to be leaving. Now, she didn't tell me at that time that they were getting divorced. It just, I mean, I thought it was like she's going to go check herself into a hospital for a couple months. And so it was kind of like the blow kept coming over the course of the year, where it was like, okay, she's leaving, but she's going to just move into a different place. And then it was like, no, she's moving out of state. And then it was like, no, they're getting divorced. And then, and so it kind of felt like the blow kept coming for a few months. So that was a really tough year. And I think, the way that impacted me was, that was the year where I decided that I was going to be helpful, and I was going to be good, and I was going to take care of people. And that's a big burden for a 12-year-old to take on, because my younger siblings, I was second of four. And so my younger siblings they reverted into fighting over who was going to be the baby. And my oldest sister kind of checked out. She was like, fine, everything sucks at home. I'm not going to be here. I'll go be with my friends. I'll go be with my boyfriend. Like she just was kind of like out. And so my grandma moved in to kind of help my dad out with all the kids. And my mom was pretty uninvolved from that point forward. Like we love her, we see her, we talk to her, but not it wasn't in like a day-to-day capacity type, regular influence in your life. And so my grandma moved in, and she was older and she needed help. And so like I would clean out the oven, and I would clean out the fridge, and I get too that like a 12-year-old's opinion of what being helpful is probably different than a grown-up's opinion of it. But I took on that emotional pressure of I needed to take care of everything. And it was a big burden that in my early years as a coach, I found myself wanting to not just teach and educate and train, but also wanting to like force everything to work out for that person. And it actually kind of limited my ability to manage a big client base. It kind of limited my ability to really create wide impact, because I was holding on to everything so tightly. Like I have to force everyone to be okay. So it was definitely I remember when I started my coaching business, I had that like, you connect the dots back like you're talking about. And it was like, oh, that's where that started. And that was a coping mechanism for that time. And it helped me get through that time, but now it's hindering me in this time. It's time to let that go.
Well, and I see, because I saw that same similar pattern in my life, where when my parents divorced when I was 6, and I kept every man my mother brought home, which were quite a few, and dated. I found myself almost like going like and sitting on their laps and engaging in them to pay attention to me, with the hopes that they might like, it sounds strange, but they might like me more than my mom. And then my mom and them would break up, and then my mom would go, oh, I really miss your dad, and she'd go back with my dad. So it was kind of like this whole thing. And so I think, when you're a child and you see this horrific trauma, your coping mechanisms have a lot of impact on what are you trying to get accomplished, and that feeling that, oh, I have to be this good child, because maybe if I'm good enough, and and maybe if my dad tells my mom, Amy is really doing a lot of work, and you can come back home even if you're in pain, and she'll make sure she takes care of the whole family. It's just that psychological thing that if I do enough of this, mom might come back home and be with us.
Yeah, I don't know that I wanted that. I did probably in the very beginning, but it kind of became apparent how much dysfunction there was. And then it was like I really wanted to steer clear of the dysfunction. And so then there was that whole journey too of like, how do you create space in your life for somebody who causes damage? Like, how do you protect and open at the same time? I think a lot of times we build we build either intentional boundaries or we build unintentional walls. And so during those years, like I built a lot of unintentional walls that were just like, oh, what? You just ran me over? Okay, let's put up a fortress here. Like, I don't want that to happen again. And so as I got, it was probably after I started having my own kids, just I would, I'd be reading a book and I would remember how my mom used to read that book to me. And it really gave me a strong sense of appreciation for all the stuff that she did do. Whereas I had been focused really on all the things she didn't do. To just go, you know what, even if all she did was take care of me and be a great mom for those like first 5 years of life, that's a lot, that's a lot. And so, it helped me to kind of reframe and create better boundaries to create space for her in my life. And we've grown a lot. I'm not going to say my family's perfect, but whose is, right?
If you said they were, I wouldn't believe you anyway. So you could say it if you want, but anybody that says it to me, I'm like, oh, okay, where is the denial river running? There has to be something in our life, because you're right. We live in such a fallen world that there can't be perfect in everybody's life. But going back to those times then when you discovered this and mom told you this and she left, what developed with mom as far as the recovery? Was she able to get clean and sober from the prescription drugs, or did that linger? And where is she at today as far as her recovery is with the pain management?
No, it's interesting because I don't really entirely know. Like she goes through phases where she's like better than others. She goes through phases where she's healthier than others. And then she'll fall into a phase where she's not healthy. And I don't really know, because she's also very good at masking things, so right now, so I think if I were to guess, I think that she has had ups and downs since then. I think it's been ups and downs. Now she is having a lot of health problems, like real health problems. So she got diagnosed with Parkinson's and then undiagnosed with Parkinson's. They were like, no, it's not Parkinson's, it's malnourishment. And so she's getting ready to have surgery here and they're trying to figure things out. But she's been very weak and frail over the last couple of years and just very, like you talk to her and her words are slurred. And so I don't know, I had a conversation with my stepdad where I was like, do you think there's something else going on? Like, is she self-medicating? What do you think? And he was like, I don't know what's going on. And so I don't really know. I know that I love her. I know that the last conversation I had with her, she sounded great.
Yeah.
So that was good to hear.
What was her pain that, you said she was on the pain meds? What was her pain back then? Do you even know, or did she never tell you?
Yeah, she always had migraines. And so she would get migraines and then she would, get a Demerol shot and then she'd be kind of flat on her back, unconscious for a day. But then she kept getting them more and more often. And so.
Yeah. So transition us. So dad's now taking care of the kids. Grandma's moved in to help. And what developed when dad met the new wife, who's now who became your stepmom? And how did you assimilate into that? Were you wanting another person in your life, or did you have those? Our family's fine the way it is. I'm managing it with grandma. We don't need another person to come in and come into the world.
Blending families is hard.
Yes.
So I would say the first year was pretty much a mess, but the gift and the blessing was we got along great with our stepsisters. So from the very beginning, when our stepsisters came in, it was like, okay, you can't take them away. So whatever fighting you guys have going on, whatever, figuring out family patterns, you're going to have to just figure it out because we're not going through the trauma of losing our sisters. So that was like and I don't know if it was just like God's grace or ages or what, but I have a stepsister who's 11 months younger than me. And then I have a sister and a stepsister that are 2 years younger than me. So they're like a month apart. And so we had this quick bonding that actually we it was like we were in a honeymoon phase with our sisters, which, the fighting started later, but in the beginning it was just like we love these girls, and we were kind of in this honeymoon phase with the sisters. But I don't know that we were ready. He got married a year and 3 months maybe after my mom had moved out. So it was fast. We didn't really know them well. We met them once. So we spent like 3 days, because they lived in California and we lived in Idaho. So we spent like 3 days together. They came up to visit and then he proposed. Um, and the rest of it was just, like old school writing letters and talking on the phone. And so it was fast. And I don't think any of us really were prepared for it. And it was hard. I mean, I just look at my stepmom today, and by the way, I'm so grateful for her. I love her. And she's the one that like comes out and stays with me when, I'm having a baby, or if I'm having surgery and I need someone. She's my go-to, and she's a great grandma. But like, how do you love ornery teenagers? You know what I mean? She inherited these ornery teenagers who were like, "You're not my mom. I already have a mom." And
Or I don't, you're not my mom. I don't need a mom, right? I don't need a mom. I don't, and that's kind of what by the time I married my husband, my son had become 17, and he goes, I remember he says, "Can't you just wait one more year before you guys get married when I'm gone? Because I don't need a dad now. Like I needed one when I was growing up, but I don't need one now at 17." And him and my husband are inseparable now, but it was really funny because he's like, I don't need a dad.
Yeah, it's and little things like um in my family, if you're in the bathroom, you lock the door. In their family, you don't lock the door, but you just knock. And so we're constantly like walking in on people while they're going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and then fighting about what's the proper etiquette for that. I mean, it's just so many little things of blending lives together that can be really challenging. But I think that the first year was really hard. And I remember that first year thinking, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, it was really hard. The second year was better. The third year was good. And I feel like by that third year on, I feel like it's been pretty good. Again, not a perfect family. Like there are 5 sisters, and when we get together for family reunions and everybody thinks that they're the boss, like we're really happy on days 1 through 3 to see each other. And by 4, we're ready to go, So,
Yeah.
so we definitely have good relationships, but there's challenges. People have different philosophies around raising kids and all life and all that stuff.
So transition then from your growing up years, and then you leaving home now. So you leave home, and where did you end up? Where you ended up with your husband, and then the kids come along?
Yeah, so I left home when I was 18 and went to college. And I've always been a fiercely independent spirit. So from the time when I left home, I really didn't come back other than just like to visit. So I went to college for a semester, and then I went to Russia to go teach English. And then I came home and met my husband that fall. So I was very, very committed to not getting married young. And then I just met the one young. So we got married in my junior year. And then when I graduated my senior year, I was pregnant with our first son. So the marriage and the babies and all that started happening pretty early. And then, yeah, had five boys within 10 years of each other. And it was, it was interesting because life is so different than what we had originally planned. We thought that he was going to be the breadwinner and the provider, and I was going to be the stay-at-home mom. And then opportunities just kind of opened up differently than we had planned on. And I realized I have this passion for entrepreneurship, and I love business, and I have a brain that just does not want to only do kid stuff, and I don't know why I thought that having kids was going to like make me only want to do that, because I've always been incredibly driven and, always been somebody who just, there's something rolling around in there all the time. And so I started my first business when my oldest was about 3 months old. And then when we were about to have my second, my husband was having health problems. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, this little hobby business that I have has to pay the bills until he gets well. And then we, when my third was born, he went back to work. And then we and like we were both grateful during that time. Like he worked with me, but it was hard, like running a business together at that point in time. It was hard. And so when he went back to work, we kind of both breathed a sigh of relief. And then we had baby five and or four, and then right before number five was born, I just really felt inspired. I needed to start a new business, and so I did. And timing seemed all wrong, and it was scary, but I did it. And a year after that, he came home to work with me in the business, and we've been running the business together ever since. So now we love working together and running the family and running the business together.
Wow. Well, just as you spoke, Amy, and I want you to know, because I'm a visual person, and you have the most and beautiful eyes. Your eyes are
Oh, thank you.
so engaging and beautiful. And as you were speaking, and I was looking into your eyes as you spoke, these beautiful transitions, I could just envision that little junior girl who her heart was broken. Her friends didn't feel like she was popular enough. She didn't feel good enough. Her mom leaves. And just to see the swan that you have become, and the beauty, that the essence of beauty that just accompanies your whole soul, encompasses, I should say. And the transition is just amazing. I just want you to know that by hearing you. And that's why I love story, because you can hear a story, and if you really listen and see the person as they speak it, and then you see the transition, there's so much hope in it. There's so much hope.
Mm-hmm.
And your beauty is amazing. I just want you to know that, inside and out. So I want to validate that. So with that, I love to transition with the vulnerability that you shared. I transition to fun. So if someone were to ask Amy today, what's one fun fact about Amy? What would your answer be? A fun fact.
Fun fact. Gosh, I am writing, I'm transitioning into fiction writing. So I've cleared up space in my business because I love to write. It is my passion. It's the thing that like I could wake up at 5 in the morning and write 10 hours and still feel like I want to keep going. So and it's been interesting to give myself permission to do something that like I love and may not be profitable. So it's been like, we'll see. My first books will come out this year.
So it'll be your first?
Yeah, I've published some, nonfiction and some business books, but I've got I'm working on, it's interesting with the self-publishing because you write all the books and you get them ready for the series and then you release the series at once. So I'm working on the series. I've actually got two that are done, working on the third, and hoping to have them all out and ready to go by the like fall of this year.
Awesome. I was in my first collaborative book, Fiercely Faithful, this past year, and my chapter is called The Essence of Humility. And I
Mm,
think what I found by doing it, it's really good to have a team that knows how to do the release the right way so that you can become a number one international bestseller in like 8 hours. So there is
mhm,
a way of that. So if you don't know of the tricks and tricks around that, we can talk offline, but there's a way to do it. And
yeah.
I'm sure you have some good people behind you to help you get to that level, because you're definitely impactful. So the other question, with all of this insane censorship going on in the United States right now, if someone told you, Amy, we're censoring you and you only get to keep two apps on your cell phone, what are your two apps you must have?
Scripture app, definitely. Um, and Google Drive. I have to have Google Drive.
That
My
is
whole life is on Google Drive.
That's fun. Well, for me, I have to have Waze, and something's going on with my cell phone that my Waze will not talk. So I'm driving, and I'm like, Ways, you're not talking. I need you to tell me where to turn next because I'm always busy doing stuff, and it's like I can't be distracted without knowing where to go. So I need it as the driving tool, not necessarily the Google Drive to store documents.
Now,
I can't
my
stand being
whole
lost.
my whole life is in Google Drive. I'm telling you, every project, every word, like it's so I pay for as much storage as I need to for Google Drive. I'm like, yes, just keep it all. So
Keep
that's
it
what I
all.
gotta have.
So, last but not least, God directed me, Amy, this year on the topic of hope, health, and healing. And I'm one of those kinds of people that it's really difficult for me to understand definitions. So I have to read them to go, oh, that's what it means. So I looked up the word when God told me to do hope, health, and healing this year as my taglines. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with those three words. So I looked him up, and hope means to cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or be true, like hoping for a promotion. But in the Bible definition of hope is the confident expectation of what God has promised, and its strength is in his faithfulness. What does
Mhm.
hope represent in your life for 2021?
I'm a very, very faith-based person as well. And so for me, hope is, I feel like I had put a lot of faith in my life and my routine, and all of that was very disrupted. And so it's putting my hope in Christ and putting my faith in the fact that there is a plan that is rolling forward that's been written since long before I was born, and that I get to be a part of it. So putting my hope in God first, and in looking forward to all of the exciting things that will be happening during these challenging times that have been, foretold. We're getting to see scripture that we've read our whole lives. We're living it.
We're living it. And then the word health, Amy, let's see, health in the dictionary says it's a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. But in the Bible, health is listed as 7 areas of abundant life that Christ refers to in John 10:10. That says that we need to look at the spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, financial, occupation, and social. Each area of our life is connected to all the others. What does
Mhm.
health mean to you?
It's funny. I'm actually organizing the Northeast Georgia Preparedness Fair, and those are exactly our aims. As you're reading those, I was like, those are exactly our aims. Um, for me, I'm focusing on more holistic health because I get really good at being strong in 2 or 3 or 4 and letting the other one slide. I have struggled to balance them all. So that's what I'm working on, is more of a holistic approach where I'm not obsessing in one and neglecting in another.
Yeah, that balance is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, and not easy,
Mm-mm.
but
Yep.
that's what I'm working on.
Yep. And then the word healing. Healing in the dictionary says it's to make free from injury or disease, to make sound or whole, like healing a wound, to make well again. But biblical healing says, heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved. For you are the one I praise. And the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and healing them all. But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord. What does healing mean to you?
Healing is remembering. So I really believe that we are all divine children of God, and that we were created in his image, and that we came from perfection and we will return to perfection. And so remembering that divinity, and remembering the source of healing, that's the natural state, is being whole and complete and well. It's, to me, it's just remembering that that's who we are.
It's funny that you said that because, you and I were talking off screen before this about our loved ones passing this year. And, the Lord really laid it upon my heart, the scripture verse that goes about that we must be like children in order to enter into the kingdom of God. And you hear that verse and you're thinking of as adults being childlike. But where I really saw the essence of that verse is especially when my mother was passing, and again, my father just passed this year, but when my mother was passing, she had an obstruction in her bowel, so she starved to death because she couldn't eat. And they said she would die within a few weeks, and she lived for 2 months with no food and water. And as she progressed, the brain deteriorates because of self-starvation, and she started hallucinating. Well, towards the end, she started calling me mommy. And she said, Mommy, I have to go to the bathroom. Mommy, will you do, mommy, mommy, mommy. And so I really saw like the essence of her needing to be like a little child before she entered into the kingdom, coming back to that childlike state. So we're born in the womb, and then through death we become a child before we enter into the kingdom. So it was a beautiful manifestation of life and death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a sweet time to be able to care for someone who's getting ready to pass. And there really is, there's a surrender where they cannot take care of themselves the way that they did before. And it is a sweet experience, and it's just a spiritual thing that you never forget when you get to care for someone before they pass.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I would love to transition here and show the audience Amy's bio. This will tell you more about what we just shared, and then how to reach out to her with her website and her Facebook page as well. So Amy, it has been just an honor to finally get to meet you, and I'm hoping that somewhere along the line we'll be able to meet in person. I'd love for you to come to Branson if you can get away in August. Bring the 5 kids and come and enjoy Branson. It's just amazing here. And for the audience to know, what I'm sharing is the Lord's laid it upon my heart to do a live event in Branson, Missouri on August 20th to the 22nd called Hope, Health, and Healing. We'll have amazing speakers that'll share their stories and connect the dots, and hopefully the stories that they share will impact your lives as well and bring more hope, health, and healing into your being this year. So join us in Branson, and thanks again, Amy. It's just an honor to finally meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a blessed day, Amy. Bye now, everyone. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. Let's restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Enhance connection in our online connection circles. A place to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Click on the Books Podcast tab, and then the Connection Circles drop down. On the pop-up, join our Connection Circles Facebook group. Our circles meet from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share story, topics, and laughter with men and women. To learn more about Connection Circles, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show, and have a great day.